Let's now get kick-started with the Money Show. We have with us joining in Mrin Agarwal, the founder director of FinSafe. Mrin, hi, and always a pleasure having you with us on the show. Thanks so much for joining in. So, Mrin, to start off with, this headline that has come in, I'm sure you've as well seen it, about how more than 3 crore Indian salaried individuals have accessed their Provident Fund, the Employee Provident Fund, which basically is the amount that their employer has cut from their salary and put it away into a retirement corpus, which, in turn is regulated by the government. There are otherwise very strict rules on how much you can withdraw from this fund. But now, for those eligible employees, they have really been taking out money from this fund because of the cash crunch. Is this, unfortunately, many don't have a choice, but why is this something that would perhaps make you, as a money expert, as a personal finance expert, cringe?
Good evening, Mubina. Nice to be here as always. Yes, it's quite sad to see this level of withdrawals from the Employee Provident Fund. Because remember, the Employee Provident Fund is a long-term financial security for retirement. And the bigger point being that if you are withdrawing from EPF, you're losing out on the biggest benefit that the product provides, which is the long-term compounding benefit. Also, there are other options available. And that's the whole point, that while it's become easy to remove money from the EPF, but there are so many other options that are there to withdraw money or to access funds. And in fact, the EPF should be something that should be the last choice.
So what are the other options available, Mrin? I mean, if say somebody is facing a cash crunch, but they have, of course, the payments to make, unfortunately, there may be medical expenses, there may be other debt obligations as well, for example, credit card bills, etc. If the income stream dries up or is cut down substantially, what are the assets that, commonly an Indian household does have, which, the individual should consider tapping onto first?
Well, we've been talking, especially over the last 1 year, about the importance of the emergency fund and how important this fund is to ensure that you have accessibility to money. So if you don't have an emergency fund, then I think you can also look at withdrawing from fixed deposits or other investments. I mean, of course, we all make investments to meet our financial goals, but then if you are in a dire situation, then you are actually better off removing money from fixed deposits than actually from the EPF. If the amount that you need is for the short term and you have the ability to pay it back, of course, the credit card is also there. These days, the credit card limits are also pretty high. And finally, if all of this is not there, you can still look at taking a loan.
Talking about credit card, Mrin, I mentioned that you said credit card first and then loan. Is it, would you prefer paying certain obligations through credit card rather than taking a new loan?
See, I mean, if there's a very dire situation and if you need the money immediately, but as I said, I qualified it by saying that you need to have the ability to pay this money back the next month, right? Because otherwise it's going to be a very, very expensive thing to really pay with. So I think under those circumstances, you can use the credit card. But if the money is required for a longer term period of time and or for example, you have a situation, but you know that I cannot pay this money back in the next 1 month, then the credit card is not an option. Then you will have to look at taking a loan.
All right. Okay. Well, if you are reasonably certain that, this cash crunch that you are facing temporary in nature, it may just be there for the next 3-4 weeks. But of course, while income may stop, payments don't stop, expenses don't stop. So you have to make certain payments. But you're sure that, okay, 3-4 weeks, income crunch, cash crunch. But, after that, you are expecting, a sum of money to come your way. Then perhaps a credit card could be a good option to tide over it. But ensure then that you pay the credit card bill on time and do not delay, because the penalty, the interest charged by these credit card companies is enormous. Let's talk about loan, Mrin. What are the different kinds of loans available out there for individuals to be able to procure, to be able to tide over this cash crunch? I remember last year, many banks had introduced something called as a COVID loan. I don't know if it's still a product that's being offered or has it been withdrawn, but seeing as the way people have to foot different kinds of medical bills as well today, which are enormous in size, what are the different kinds of loans available which you'd recommend individuals could consider?
Well, firstly, you can look at a loan against fixed deposit. I mean, of course, that's depending on the amount of fixed deposit that you have. But loan against fixed deposit is easy to get because you can just do it online in your bank account. The interest rate is 0.5 to 2% higher than the interest rate on the fixed deposit. And you can get almost 90% of the deposit amount as a loan. So I would say that loan against fixed deposit would be my first option, followed by loan against gold. As we all know, Indian families have a lot of gold, which is honestly not being used in any manner. I think it's good to put that gold to use. Of course, the only thing is that you will have to approach the bank and you'll have to take the gold and, physically go and give the gold to the bank. But gold loan is another option which is available between 9 and 12%. And you can get up to 75 to 90% of the value of the gold as a loan amount. And further, you can get it for a longer term period, up to 3 years as well. So I think loan against gold is another option. Then you have the more expensive options, which is the COVID loan or the personal loan or Insta loans, which are easily available irrespective of what your credit score is. But of course, these loans are very expensive. A personal loan would be anywhere between 12% to 25%. Insta loans are, again, anywhere around 22%. And then, of course, you have the credit card loan, which is the worst possible form of loan that you can take because that's around 35-36% interest per annum. So I would say use your assets to use and take a loan against that because it's going to turn out to be cheaper for you.
Okay, understood. What about gold, Rin? Because the fact that we Indian households are so rich with gold, it could be token, the coins, etc., that we get on special occasions, or the ancestral ones, and then of course the really smart ones also have ETFs, etc., lying with them. Gold, in fact, has rallied as well quite a bit right now. I think we're back at 50,000. Is that something as well that individuals could consider, perhaps? Overtaking a fresh debt obligation, which may come in the form of credit card or loan?
Yes, I mean, if you're saying sell off some bit of gold, why not? Because again, gold is always bought for that rainy day and always bought for that difficult period, right? And so why not? I mean, of course, you can take a loan against it. Even against the sovereign gold bond scheme, you can actually take a loan. It's not all that expensive. But yes, you can always look at exiting some of your gold holdings, which could be even physical gold, in order to tide over this period. And I mean, honestly, at this point in time, I think it is important to take care of the emergency in such a way that you're not burdened more, So see, what happens is that by taking loans, you're going to have this interest burden, and which is going to be there for a long period of time. So you really need to evaluate that, should I exit my investments? That way I don't have further burden, at least of interest, or do I want to take a loan? I would veer towards exiting some of my investments.
Okay. All right. Now, this, of course, we are talking about those individuals who unfortunately had to bear the brunt. We are still not out of the woods, unfortunately. We don't know what shape or form COVID could take from here on as well. So if I have to brace for the potential of any income cut coming my way, what steps can I take so that the impact of that is minimized, Mrin?
I think it's very important to think of being debt free. So if your income is getting, if your income is falling or it's getting reduced for whatever reason, it's still important to focus and pay off the loans first and become debt free, because remember, the interest at the end of the day is a cost that you're paying. So you're better off without that than with that. Of course, you'll have to cut down expenses, right? That's the only way you can look at even saving more. But I think these two are the main things that one really needs to look at. And if you haven't got an emergency fund till now, I think it's high time you start building one. Start with at least having 3 months of expenses kept aside in this fund, and look at building up this fund slowly to 6 months of expenses.
Okay, so yeah, it's always a good idea to prepare for such a situation, because you don't want to be caught in the thick of it all and having nothing to fall back on. So for those lucky ones out there who've not seen much disruption to their income so far, it's better that you take steps right now, so that God forbid, even if let's say things take, you know, a nasty turn, you are ready with a plan B or a contingency plan. And you know, it sort of saves you from the worst effect of the crises. Now, you know, Mririn, you mentioned about, and I want to get back to that point of, you know, taking an emergency loan or borrowing, you know, from a financial institutions to tide over a cash crunch. Now, we say that, you know, a certain amount, you know, your debt, the obligations that you pay for should not exceed a certain percentage of your income. But these are extraordinary circumstances. So what if that happens? Because I've had to take a loan in order to perhaps pay off another debt obligation or to pay off medical expenses or whatever it is. Is it okay for it to, you know, cross those certain ratios or levels? Because these are extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah, I think it's okay as long as it's long term. So normally we recommend out of every 100 rupees that you take home as income, 30 rupees can get into EMIs. Now, if that 30 is going to become 50, which might be the case at this point in time, I think it's okay for the short term. Obviously, you'll have to cut down big time on expenses. I mean, you really cannot afford any non-essential expenses. And again, you'll have to have a huge focus towards repaying these loans at the earliest.
Okay. All right. Well, I think this should largely cover it, and all that, you know, individuals should do when it comes to, you know, the financial crunch. It may not be the best idea to start tapping into your retirement kitty, because you know, it's something that does disrupt your plans quite a bit. But yeah, Mririn has given you some steps that you can take right now while your income as well is intact, that could save you from the worst effect of a crisis as and when it develops. Okay, well, time to take on board some questions and queries from our viewers. Our first question is coming in from Anisha and Aman Chopra. There's a couple living in Delhi, and they say that they've been investing in SIPs for the last 6 months as per his advisor's suggestions. They have a 10 to 15 year time horizon. He and his wife have EPF and PPF worth 30 lakhs, and both have FDs also of 30 lakh rupees. So I assume it's 30 lakhs in total for both of them. So that's 60 lakhs split in EPF, PPF and FDs. Now he has quite a few funds as well: Axis Multi-Cap, Invesco Small, SBI Focus, DSP Equity, Mirae Focus, Tata Large and Mid-Cap, Edelweiss Technology and Mirae Healthcare. So 2 thematic funds as well squeezed in over there. He says we recently deployed a lump sum of 5 lakh via STP in the above funds, the ones that I mentioned, and carried out STP of 10,000 in Invesco Liquid, Tara Liquid, Mirae Cash Management. And he's given the split as well. It's about 1.25 lakhs in all of these funds. He wants to know if he should continue with these mutual funds, and he also has another 5 lakh rupees that he can deploy. So how should he go about that? And he's asking you, Mririn, if he should perhaps include more debt funds in his portfolio. He's already contributing 10% of his portfolio towards EPF and 10% towards PPF. I think it's a good plan really that he's put forward with STPs and everything. So he's making the most of the financial instruments available there. Mririn, overall, what do you think? And you know, the good thing is that they have a good 10-15 years in front of them.
Yeah, I think he's kind of thought through it. And I don't think that he needs to increase the debt exposure, because he's already got the EPF, PPF, and the fixed deposits as well. So I don't think that he needs to do anything out there. And I think he also mentioned about emergency cash, which he can use the fixed deposits for the emergency cash. Now, with respect to some of the investments that he has done, so like the Invesco fund, or For example, the Mirae Healthcare or the Edelweiss Fund, a lot of these funds are actually very new funds. They're only 2 to 3 years old. So I would say, while I'm not in favor of sectoral exposures and thematic exposures, and I've been on your show many times and said this in the past, that I always believe it's better to be in the diversified funds. But given that these funds have had a good run, I think you should look at holding them for some time and then maybe look at doing profit booking. And I think the focus of, in his portfolio should really be on the more diversified funds, which is, for example, the DSP Equity Opportunities Fund. He has the Invesco Fund as well. The Tata Large and Mid Cap is an okay fund. It's doing okay. It's not doing that great. But I think he should really focus on some of these, larger funds that he's got, like the Axis Multicap, SBI Focused, Invesco, DSP. Just focus on these basically.
Okay. I just wanted a quick take from you on these two thematic funds that he's introduced. They're very hot sectors for sure, healthcare and technology. But is it a good idea to keep funds like these in your portfolio, for the benefit of the general audience as well? I'd like to ask you this.
See, as such, I don't recommend thematic funds or sector funds because I always believe that whatever is going to be the good bets out there is in any case going to be part of the larger diversified funds. Now, when one looks at this US technology fund that he's got, that's a very, again, concentrated exposure into a particular segment, which is US technology stocks, which of course are doing great at this point in time. So, I mean, yes, you can have small exposure to it. Don't have too large an exposure to it because it's something that's doing well right now, but it's not necessary that it's going to continue to do well forever, right? So keep a watch on it and look at doing regular profit booking. That's the other bit in these funds, that you can invest in these funds provided your other basics are taken care of, which means whatever you're investing for your other goals are taken care of, and these are surplus investments that you have, you can look at these funds. But then the point is that you'll have to keep a watch on these funds and look at doing exits when you have had good amount of profits. Keep doing profit booking.
Okay. All right. Well, I think with that, we're out of time, Rin. Thanks so much for joining us on The Money Show to discuss this very important topic and, of course, answering our viewer questions and queries as well. It was always lovely to talk to you.